When we started this series, Nate was trying to figure out where his business would break. 5 months later, he's built a $40 million pipeline, hired his first team member. And in this episode, we talk about the idea that there's always going to be a bottleneck in your business. It never disappears, it just moves. And so the idea is that you need to find it and then solve it. We also talk about how to clone your best partner and why going deep versus wide on referral partners is the best strategy. Hey, I'm Scott Beckford. This is the I Love Mortgage Brokering podcast, and this is designed to help you grow, scale your mortgage business. Before we jump into this episode, I want to give a shout out to Ownwell. Ownwell is an amazing tool for Canadian brokers to engage their database, to find deals that are there in the database. It basically monitors your equity, your home buying power, and it sends you a monthly report with really high open rates, as well as finds opportunities because it has the data to let you know that, hey, this person could save money by refinancing or they have equity. Check them out at ownwell.ca and check out this episode with Nate. Hey, Nate, welcome back, brother.
Hey, Scott, great to be back. Thank you.
So I'd love to get an update on two things, your pipeline and your hiring, how that's going. And then we're going to jump into kind of planning what's next for you to keep scaling.
For sure. Let's do it. Okay. Pipeline. We've continued the trajectory headed in the right direction. So we've got, this is as of the end of the first week in June, kind of like 5 months in, right? We got 13 million funded, 3 million broker complete, 3.5 million approved, another 1.5 million submitted, 8 million in applications received, and 12 million in pre-approval. So we're at about the $40 million, teetering of the $40 million mark around mid-June.
Right. Okay. Amazing. And hiring update, how's that going?
Yeah, hiring update. Yeah, so good. Don't want to jinx it, fingers crossed, but I don't know how far we got with the last call, but I found my hire, super excited about it. We've gone through the process of, I'm really grateful that she is in the same pace that I'm on. She's got a long-term mindset, and she's coming from a place where she's not like crazy unhappy. She's just super excited to join with me. So that means that we're able to transition nice and effectively. So we've been working on connecting and just talking about like the systems I have in place, the client journey I have in place, the tech I use, making sure that when the official transition happens, mega comfortable and kind of like hit the ground running rather than taking extra time sitting there. Like, I don't have a whole bunch of help. So I think that we've got a good process to transition.
Right. And you're not just saying, hey, start full time tomorrow, where it's going to take all your time to get her caught up. You do it gradually so you can, if you had more support in place, you might be able to do that, but you don't. So you have to just do it smart. Right.
Interestingly, actually, right now, so two things. One, that leads me to think of what you said to me before, which is it's great if while we do this, to maybe help to utilize her by using Scribe, which is a format where we can create SOPs so that maybe my next hire isn't as much of a difficult task. And the other is that my son is now also a BRX mortgage agent. And so interestingly enough, he's in my office. So my time now is now split in a few different ways, just because I get the old like tap on the door. Hey, Dad, can you tell me this? Hey, what can I do with this? What should I do with that? So I'm super happy, super like grateful for it, of course. But again, it's a little bit more of my time that's divided a little bit. So again, Reese, if you're listening to this, I love you. I'm more than happy to help you. So come into my office anytime by virtue of time. So it's getting divided a little bit. So yeah, I'm grateful that she's open to that. And that way it's kind of like the transition will be nice and smooth. And then when she does start, it'll be like she knows what to do, not another step back of my time.
That's good. Okay. So what's next? What do you think is the next area of bottleneck that you want to work on? I think I know, but I want you to tell me.
So. Yeah. Okay. Well, then I think I know, then you can tell me how I'm wrong. So I think it's going to be, now that we're going to be buying back this time, the purpose is to be able to, I guess if I take a step back where we started, you and I at the beginning, identifying the bottleneck was kind of like, let's say, for example, you were to like triple your workload. Where will things back up, right? And
where will it break first?
Where is it going to break? We identified, okay, clearly it's me, all me. So if I were to have to underwrite all these files and do all that, it's going to collapse. So here's that hire to go ahead and help to alleviate that particular bottleneck. So now my goal is going to be to continue to bring in as much organic business as possible and as much business as we can. So again, it's going to be turning to lead generation, refocusing on lead gen. And I think that I have a somewhat of a dependency on my realtor relationships right now, which I love. I think that's great. But I think that perhaps maybe getting you to help me with diversifying that a little bit into maybe some other areas of partnerships that don't just depend on realtors. Or you may tell me that that's a dumb idea, Nate. You should go into what you're good at and stay and just maximize them. So I don't know, but I'm just thinking about lead gen, partners, how to leverage that, and then maybe other avenues we can dive into, things like podcasts or events. Or I know that your talk, I mentioned it before, I really loved your talk with Joel, and maybe talking about those kinds of things. So basically the big picture is bringing in business and then maybe the best way to do it.
Okay, amazing. So really, it's about lead gen. This is going to be all about lead gen. So I always like to start with just analyzing where your business is coming from right now. Like I think Alex Ramosi says, more, better, new. So what can we do more of? What can we do better? And then before we think of new. So if you look at your pipeline, you got 40 million in it right now. Where does the split of that come from? From what sources?
So at the beginning of my business, it was almost exclusively, realtor partnerships and very little of just like, database stuff. And now I'm getting a little bit more database work because we do such a good job in our client journey, making people so happy and satisfied. But it's still very over leveraged in terms of realtors. I would say it's going to be 80% at some point it's come from a realtor partnership. And then the other 20% is going to be renewals, relationships, referrals from clients that are already in my database.
Okay, so 80% realtors. And how many realtors refer you consistently?
Consistently, I would say about 10 good, like consistent, really good partners. And then I've got another 10 that are kind of like, I'll get a few a year, like little loose. And then a few more that are trying. Maybe their clientele is just not as reliable, trying to be diplomatic. But yeah,
Right. So you got 10 that refer you. And of the 10, like what would you estimate if you take a scan of your pipeline? What percentage of that business is from those 10 people versus the other sources?
probably like 50%.
Okay. And then how many people are sending you? And then how many referrals are we talking? You get on your top 10 list. Like what is the number one person sending you versus the number 10?
Number one person would be sending me 5 a month kind of thing. It's
Okay.
very consistent. And I would consider it to be like a lot, right? And then, they're busy realtors. They're good at what they do. And these are not donkey files, like these are ones that are, it's a purchase, it's in place, it's a pre-approval for someone that's going to buy. Like these are not like cold leads that came in my Facebook marketing and they're going to throw them to Nate, right?
And they're just throwing to
Yeah.
you. Yeah, these are people that are very much qualified.
Very
So you're
much.
getting
It's
the
good
one
friends.
person that sends you about 5 leads a month.
Yeah.
So if you had more of that person, what would that look like for your business? So that's always the first thing is like, how would I possibly clone the top, and not even the top 10, the top 4 probably account for most of it. Let's be real. The top 1 to 4. What would that look like for your business? And how do you think you could do? I have some ideas, but I wanted your ideas. How do you think you could get more that type of relationship?
It's a super big question. And I guess the relationship has been built on trust, on familiarity, on likeness, and then, of course, on delivering, right? On both sides of coin. So if I were to reverse engineer and go back to how those relationships started, I think that I could probably do my best to try to simulate that, and then maybe create that trust again. I think that the difficulty is, and I think other mortgage brokers will relate to this, you don't always know. Like my realtors are great people. They're awesome, but not all of them are killers, right? So it's kind of like,
Right. Hey, you can't
you
tell.
can't tell. That's the tough part. So it's like,
Right.
hey, we have a great relationship and he's a solid dude or she's a solid gal. And I think they've got great clients. They're trying really hard. They just don't go through, right? So that's the hard part to predict a little bit.
Okay. Now, the top realtors that you have, like this person sending you 5, are they a team? Is it an individual? What do they have?
2 are complete individuals. One's got a small team. Another 2 have like medium-sized teams.
Are you getting the referrals from the entire team or just the 1 or 2 people?
No, I found over time that, no matter how big a team is or how small a team is, you don't get all of the deals from all of them because some of them have their own preferred people, their own partners, right? So you don't get all of them. But I do have one team that I work closely with that I absolutely love them all, phenomenal humans. And I get the majority of the work from the people that are on that team. Is, let's say like from 5 of the 8 realtors, I pretty well get almost all their deals. So that's one. But other than that, it's really just like super solid individual relationships.
Right. Okay. So a couple of thoughts on this to help you expand it. One, I would ask, especially if they don't have a team of realtors that you work with sending you the business, is like, if you go on vacation, who covers for you? And the reason you want to ask that question is that whoever covers for them, if you have such a great relation, they're going to like attracts like. And so they're going to be the kind of person that you connect with. Often it's an easy way to clone someone. It would be just to be asked that question. Hey, you go on vacation. I'm curious who would cover for your listings or take care of your clients. And maybe they got a team member, but if they don't, then that's another intro.
Got it.
Then the second thing you do is you ask them like, which markets are these people in? Where are they?
Burlington, let's say, for example.
So somebody in Burlington. So then I would go to your top 10 and I'd ask all of them the question of, obviously I love working with you. We've got a great relationship. And I'm curious, do you have a realtors that you refer to outside of this market? So like if somebody's moving from Burlington to Kitchener, do you have somebody there? And then ask for an introduction. If these people trust you, what happens is they come in pre-sold. There'll be layups for you. By doing that, let's say you got 10 of them, and from the 10, you get 5 good introductions. You'll probably walk away with 2 more good partners. Now, that's not going to move. That's just one, but this won't take you a lot of time to do. So you end up with a couple more partners. So you go from 10 to maybe 12, right? And you go a little bit deeper in those relationships.
Love that.
So that would be the first thing. That's the more strategy that I would start with.
Amazing.
And then in terms of financial advisors, do you have a financial advisor right now that you work with?
I mean, there are some that have tried and whatnot, but not at all worked and nurtured that relationship whatsoever.
Right. So there's kind of two schools of thought here. One would be just double down, triple down on what's already working. That can be wise. I mean, you could build $100 million business just on one referral partner type if you just got really dialed into them. And Bernadette Laxaman is a perfect example of somebody who's built, like, she does about 250 million a year. It got to a place where she was at about, I don't know, 200 million or something. Maybe she's 200 million. She wanted to go to 250. And we looked at her business and was like, okay, what could we realistically double in the next 12 to 18 months? So she had good realtor partners, but she was doing most of the relationship building was done one to one. So the next thing would be one to many. Is there stuff you could be doing, say at webinars with these people that would get you in front of more people faster? So like joint webinars with your realtor partners, doing lunch and learns to get in front of them, right? Anytime you can do one to many, you're a great presenter. So if you can do some one to many strategies, whether it's in real life or virtual, you're going to get in front of more possible potential leads.
Yeah, so I'll apply two of those things. The first would be, I actually love the idea of tripling down. Like, I love going deep and not wide, right? So I actually love the
Yeah.
idea of like tripling down on realtors because I speak the same language. I know them really well. I got a bunch of them that are friends, and I love that. The second would be, yes, I know I speak quite a bit. So I do that relatively often, like way more often than any other mortgage brokers. They're pretty well, I guarantee that. So like I'm speaking to teams all the time because I have a whole slew of topics I could talk about. So I'm doing that. But now I think that now you're right. Now that we're going to be buying this time back, I think that I haven't initiated proactively since I started as a mortgage broker when I really wanted to get out there and get as many contacts as I could. I haven't really initiated it as often because I've been so busy. So now I can go out there and actually solicit to be able to come out and dump into them and their teams and their brokerages. So I love that idea. I think that's a great idea, Scott.
Two different angles on this that you could do. So you just think of the principle one to many, and then there's different paths. So one would be, I'm going to go do a lunch and learn with real estate agents to teach them, because get in front of them and they want to work with you. That's one. The other is a strategy where you and the realtor partner and you're going to the clients. You're doing something to help them in their business, whether it's, you do a webinar on, should I sell my condo in Toronto right now? Right? What's the condo market thing? And then talk about strategies around that. And then they get in front of people as well. Because the thing is, they have a database. They may have people in their database that are not ready to buy from yet. So you could, target their database alongside with them, as opposed to just getting in front of the realtors. So there's kind of two different paths there. Again, I just think of Bernadette. She does webinars ongoing basis. I think she does one or two a month. And when she does, she's inviting all of her clients to these webinars and then telling them to invite their friends, and or her referral partners, they're inviting their lead customers. And so if you could start doing something that's client focused, right, around different topics, the realtors can invite people, and then you can create deals for both of you. So that's another one to many strategy that you could look at.
Love that. Yeah, I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, because I think like you could get to 100 million and not even add a second. Think about going after financial advisors. They are high trust referral leads. I have found that it's going to be a rare situation where a financial planner is going to send you 5 leads in a month. That is so rare. And there's people listening going, that's me. I'm like, yeah, but that's a unicorn.
Got it.
Whereas even if they have a decent sized book,
Yeah.
that's the challenge with financial planners. I just don't find that they refer. It's still worth for something to pursue. But if you leverage the existing relationships you have, try that first. We're not saying don't go down the other path. Maybe first, okay, who covers them on vacation? Do they have other markets where they have partners? Like I got a buddy, everybody that goes to Toronto, I refer them all to this guy or this team. That would be good to know. And then outside of that, lunch and learns for the realtor partners, which you slay at. And then do some kind of webinar for your clients and the realtors' clients.
Love it so much. All that. I love it. I think that we have my answer here, and it's going to be deep with realtors. I honestly prefer the relationship. And here's the thing too, you alluded to a second ago, and anyone listening can get this. It's like financial advisors, it's going to have a hard time getting 5 a month. Like I got some realtors that are killers, and it's like they have a good month. They send me 15 people, right? Like they may not all buy, but I mean, eventually they do. So I mean, I agree. I mean, realtors are the front line when it comes to buying and selling, plain and simple. I think that's a super easy answer. I think that's right in front of me. Thank you for that. And then you mentioned like ways to do things. So you got webinars, lunch and learns, etc. And I'm putting together another thing, what's probably like a live event, which realtors love this. I got a huge health contingent where I got a ton of realtors that are big into, like getting healthy and doing all that kind of stuff. So I got a couple ideas that I can just help to build trust and kind of insulate that relationship. So I love it. That's great. I'm going to go deep in that.
Yeah. There's something called the 5 ones. I've read this before, and it's one, you can get to $1 million a year with just one client type, one irresistible offer, one platform, and you just keep scaling that. And there's still so much opportunity. It's not like there's not $1 million, 100 million in real estate transactions in your area. It's just you getting a bigger chunk of the ones that are there. And I think one-to-many strategies you use them, but they're not. Another episode I tell you to go back and listen to. So Joel Olson, I don't know if you listen to that one, but he does lunch and learns.
Yeah. Love
where
that.
he basically hits up all these small markets, but he does them very strategically. He does them at a coffee shop, so it's cheaper. He does 2 in a day, but he'll get in front of 300 realtors in a month.
Yeah. And I know.
And last year he had his biggest year ever in a market that most people were going down. He went to 100 million and he just increased it by going one to many. And so again, I think that there's opportunity and you're really good at that. So like play to your strengths, right?
Yeah, that's great, Scott. Thank you for that. I agree. That's super. The other thing I was going to ask you is, I think your answer will probably be the same again. I see the more, better, new. I think there's a new filter
Yeah.
for everything, but it's going to be like, I mean, over time, there's a lot of talk in every business, whatever you do, about, niching down and, like, are you going to do reverse mortgages, business for sale, first time home buyers, renewals, refinances, whatever. And so I've looked at that and said as well, my book is like everything, right? Like, I mean, I got folks that, come in and it's like, we got a bunch of first time home buyers. Of course, now there's a ton of them out there. We got a bunch of folks, very few real estate investors, but I love reverse mortgages. I think it's actually an absolute gold mine. And I think it's such a rewarding area when you can help the people who need the help. I just feel like it's super nichey. Like that one there is almost like, you kind of like got to really pound in that one niche to the point where it's almost like you maybe need to get away from other things. So I thought I'd ask your opinion about that in terms of the next step. Should I just focus on general overall realtor relationships and then hold the funnel out and let it all come in? Or in terms of actual mortgage styles, do you think there's a benefit to niching down at all?
I think if you just focused on doing one to many, you would still get to your $100 million goal without adding any other niches. However, the counter argument would be you could also do both. I mean, if you have the capacity, but I did a podcast with a guy yesterday. He's in New Zealand, hasn't come out yet. And he used to have a telecom company. And I said, what was your biggest lesson? And he said, my biggest lesson was that I would get distracted by doing too many things. I said, what do you mean? He said, in telecom, we were stretched too thin. In New Zealand, most mortgage brokers are also financial advisors. They also do this Kiwi saving program and they do insurance. And he's like, I've said no to them. And he did 121 million last year. He's only been in the business not that long. In his mind, I think I can get to 200 and 250 million and just focus and be just really good at mortgages. So he's going deep instead of wide. I could make the argument, but I'd also, if you wanted to go down the path of just carve out a discipline and you're very disciplined amount of time that you'd put towards this other client type, and then you have to create some content around it, or you take that time to put it into just going one to many and just scaling it. So
The
like,
latter, as you are working through it, the answers are becoming obvious to me, right? And it's like, I got this on my desk, right? Like the word focus, right? On two things right now, because two things right now, as you know, I have a couple companies, I'm slowly peeling away from those and I'm dumping everything into this. It's clear. It's like, it's the same thing with your focus within the day within that business. I think it's clear that if I could focus on the one-to-many strategies that are narrow to bring in that one goal, which is lead gen through those realtors, I think that is probably the answer for my next, from your original question to our podcast, which is what's next, Nate. I think that's next.
and then here's the thing. Once you get a big enough client base and your client base is growing rapidly, to me, then the next strategy is how do I get more out of that? Because they're going to build the database for you. And now client referrals, repeat clients, that's where the next natural layer, but get that thing is, grow the database. Peter Mathan, he said to me many years ago, he's got thousands of clients, does hundreds of mortgages a year. He said, if I started over again today, I would spend all my time and energy to get 250 clients. And then I'd spend all my time and energy marketing those 250 clients. And so really, if you're going to need probably more than 250, but the point is if you did a focus dialed in this one to many, I can't imagine you'd be overrun with leads because you'd get so good at it. And it would become like taking candy from a baby that you'd be like, wow, this is just so easy for me. And then the next strategy is now you hire somebody who works your database for you. Okay, your job is to find deals in the database. I'm going to keep working the funnel on this side. And I got somebody pulling all the deals out of my database for me. And that's how you keep scaling it up. That's what I think.
Yeah, and you are a man that you practice what you preach. If anybody saw your post that you made recently and then your talk that you did to the entire brokerage, it's kind of like refocusing back on, in your case, the agents in BRX. For my case, it's like my actual people that are already there. Like, it's like I may have people coming up for renewals and all sorts of stuff, or maybe I use Ownwell. I have a lot of folks that maybe need some help or they can switch off to something else rather than going out and finding a whole bunch of new mortgages. Focus on that database. So I see what you mean.
And you can still do those. Like say yes to those folks if they're in your, once they're in your database, they're your people, but fill the funnel with their one to many. And I think 2 or 3 strategies and you gave yourself 3 or 4 months, I think you'd be overwhelmed with leads and you're going to come back and say, Scott, I'm too busy. And I need one. I'm like, okay, let's figure out the next problem. Or your underwriter is going to be like, you're burying me, Nate, I need help. And then that'll be your next.
Looking forward to that problem. Yep. That's where I want to get to, right? I want to keep creating bottlenecks all over the place so that we have bottlenecks to solve. That's a good thing. That's what's
it just moves, right? Like at the end of the day, the bottleneck doesn't go away. It just, you solve it and then it moves. And right now your bottleneck has actually moved from inside. So if you think of your business as a factory. You've got this machine, you're installing a machine. So the bottleneck is now outside the factory, which is getting in more customers, right? Get the lead piece of it, or it's going to be very quickly anyway.
Love this. Makes complete sense. Yeah. And then I guess the last, so there we kind of talked about those two pieces here, lead gen, where to still go deep. And then wanted to talk specifically about the idea of, again, like maybe, not spreading too thin, but if I can handle the capacity of it and go, I'm all about going long if I can. Podcast. We talked a little bit very briefly, I can't remember if it was off camera or not, about podcasts. And then I've got like a one-time annual event that I'm going to host in 2027. I've already put it out there on my social media. That'll be like a once a year thing. So I don't need to make that a huge commitment. But in terms of like a podcast, like I'm really, I think it's time now. It's been a while. I think I've got a lot to offer. And I'm just trying to figure out if that's something I want to talk to agents in my podcast, right? Like if I want to make it kind of agent focused and talk about what I've done and what I'm seeing and client journey and helping agents out, because I think there's value there for me and for them and for the brokerage. Or do I want to go into something a little bit more of my other passions, right? That people come to me for all the time, which is like, health and wealth, right? So figuring that out. But I thought I would talk to you a little bit about the podcast expert, a little bit about maybe your thoughts on that.
Here's what I think. First off, I think that the podcast could be one of your one-to-many strategies because it is a one-to-many. Then the question becomes, okay, so let's say you're going to do webinars or in real life. Podcast could be one of those things that you do. Then you got to just decide, you're right, who's the audience? Like a single target. Is it going to be real estate agents? Is it going to be borrowers? Is it going to be business owners? And you could do a show that has nothing to do with mortgages if you want. Like I know that Adam Walker he's killer. He's basically hometown sports. He gets hundreds of thousands of views on his stuff, but everything is sponsored by his mortgage company. And so if you wanted to create a lifestyle brand, I've seen people make this. The problem is that if they don't know you're a mortgage broker, like, oh, Nate seems like a great dude, but like, I don't even know what he does. So you can't be a secret agent. So I think if you're going to go down that path, and I think that this could deserve another episode we could do once you give it some thought. But you just got to think about who's my target audience going to be. And then it's really important that you create a title. The titles really matter. Like I love mortgage brokering. It's pretty obvious who this is for. And if you're not in this industry, you don't need to listen to this. Don't. It's not going to be for you. And I'm cool with that. And so I think the name would be, once you identify that, the problem is if you make it too generic, then you don't want to be trying to compete with that of a CEO and these other shows that are like, because they're going to get better guests, they're going to have better lighting, better everything. And so, and you can make it niche around a client. So here's how I think of it this way. It could be a client type, and it could be the realtors, could be some client type that you really enjoy working with, whether it's first-time buyers. It could be a region. So the thing could be based around a region. So like, I know that Taylor, who does a show with me, he's got one, Kelowna Real Estate Podcast. They actually have a sponsor that covers some of the cost of it for them. I think that #1 podcast in the area. And they get business from this, and it builds their reputation, builds their network. And so it's focused on our area. So you can make it also local, but then it's real estate. Or you can make it special interest, but that special interest needs to be wrapped in a, hey, this is sponsored by Hummingbird Mortgages, and then get into it so people know is your day job as a mortgage broker.
Super valuable. All of that is mega value. Anyone who's ever thinking of doing a podcast would have loved that. That's great. Thank you. So I can definitely give that some thought, and then maybe we could,
And you can just message me too. If you end up deciding between now and when we can just message back and forth. And then if you decide on, we can then talk about what you decided. So like this part doesn't be recorded. We could do it asynchronistically. We send each other voice notes. You can say, here's what I'm thinking, go back and forth. And then if you decide you want to pull the trigger on something, you can we can talk about the tech setup and all that stuff later. But really the most important thing is the audience and the title. Spend the most time thinking about that, because that is going to be the thing that is going to help it show up for people. And what's the strategy around it too? We can get into a whole bunch of strategy around podcasting too.
Amazing. That's so good. Love that so much.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, I appreciate this, Nate. I always love chatting with you, and let us know how it goes with which one-to-many strategies you apply. Go back and listen to the Joel Olson one, because he's done a masterful job in growing in a challenging market. And he's focused right on real estate agent. And people are like, it's like, I need 10. You don't need 10 different types of referral sources.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to get so good that everybody can't help but use you, right?
Yeah. I listen to that podcast. It's brilliant. I love it so much. That's part of the inspiration for it.
Okay. Awesome, brother.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Scott. Have a great one. We'll see you next chat.
Hey, thanks for listening. And hopefully you got some inspiration from my conversation with Nate. The key thing, this is true in all business, not just mortgage businesses, but there's always a bottleneck in the business. And the key is to find the bottleneck, focus on fixing it. And you can celebrate it, but then realize that the bottleneck moves. So whenever you solve one problem or one bottleneck, I don't even like the word problem, then recognize that the key is to find the next one and then attack that one with full attention and focus. Hey, thanks for listening. As I always say, there's no problem in your mortgage business someone else hasn't already solved. Your problem is finding the solution when you need them. This podcast is designed to find some of those solutions. Thanks for listening, and I will see you on the next episode.